Welcome to KR Films Entertainment Channel. Today I am going to explain a 2010 Hollywood film called I Spit on Your Grave. The girl is running in the woods, but she always feels like someone is staring at her from a distance. She looks around suspiciously and realizes something is wrong, so she immediately runs back to her cabin. To her surprise, as soon as she enters the house, several young men barge in. They first force her to drink all the alcohol in the bottle, and then hold a baseball bat to her mouth. The men keep throwing matches at her. Then, they demand the girl to forcibly open her mouth with her hands. Facing these perverted and twisted men, the poor girl can only comply and submit. However, the nightmare has only just begun for both sides. The girl's name is Jennifer, and she is a writer. In search of inspiration, she deliberately came to a remote town. While refueling at a gas station, she was approached by this group of malicious men. Jennifer could only force a smile in response. Johnny even volunteered to help Jennifer close the gas tank lid. Accidentally, he kicked over a nearby bucket, splashing dirty water all over himself. This caused a burst of laughter from his friends, making Johnny extremely embarrassed. Jennifer took the opportunity to quickly leave. But as a result, she suffered countless humiliations. Shortly after, Jennifer arrived at her destination. The surrounding mountains and the peaceful environment made it an ideal place for creativity. However, when she entered the house, she discovered that the tap water was extremely turbid. She could only contact a repairman to come and fix it. But just as she hung up the phone, her mobile slipped and fell into the toilet. Without much thought, Jennifer reached in and retrieved it. Just as she was using a hairdryer to dry her phone, the repairman Matthew arrived. Though he seemed a bit dazed, he quickly fixed the plumbing. Jennifer was ecstatic and immediately gave him a sweet kiss. This made Matthew shy and he turned and ran away. Meanwhile, a few men from the gas station were fishing by the river. As they were chatting, they saw Matthew running towards them happily. They teased Matthew, saying he would never find a girlfriend. However, Stanley took out a camera and said he had something to show them. It turns out that Stanley had secretly filmed Jennifer kissing Matthew. This left Johnny in complete disbelief. Jennifer, the woman he couldn't even have, ended up kissing a fool. Recalling the rejection at the gas station, Johnny became furious and vowed to get Jennifer. But to his surprise, his companions started mocking him again. This only intensified Johnny's inner pain. At night, just as Jennifer was preparing to sleep, she suddenly heard a noise outside. She went to investigate, only to find a dead sparrow on the ground. Jennifer sensed something was wrong and immediately returned to the house. But then, Johnny and his friend's photos appeared on the computer screen. Jennifer was frightened, and in no time, Johnny and his group broke into the house one by one. Jennifer shouted at them to leave, but it was in vain. And at that moment, Andy came downstairs holding one of Jennifer's undergarments. Jennifer was horrified by the scene before her. She could only lie and claim that she had already called the police, urging them to leave quickly. However, the few people remained calm after hearing this. Because they knew Jennifer's phone had fallen into the toilet and stopped working. They then began their inhumane torture of Jennifer. Faced with this group of sadistic and deranged men, poor Jennifer had no choice but to comply with them. However, the result of her constant endurance was even more sadistic torture. Taking advantage of the satisfaction the few people felt from their actions, Jennifer fought back and quickly ran out of the house. Terrified, she sprinted through the woods and hadn't run far when she collided with a man head-on. This person was Storch, a local police chief. Jennifer thought she had finally found hope and proceeded to tell Storch everything that had just happened. After listening, Storch followed Jennifer to the cabin, but there was no one inside. Just as Jennifer was about to explain, Storch discovered marijuana on the ground. He immediately pointed the finger at Jennifer. He believed that she was having a bad reaction to marijuana, running into the woods in her pajamas and speaking incoherently. Jennifer was so angry at Storch's accusation that she couldn't speak. Storch wanted to search her and check if she was carrying any other illegal items. Though reluctant, Jennifer had no choice but to comply under Storch's threat. Little did she know, this man became more lecherous as he touched her during the search. Just as Jennifer sensed something was wrong, she turned around and found Johnny and the others had reappeared behind her. It was then that Jennifer realized that Storch had actually conspired with them. Jennifer knew she couldn't escape anymore and could only let them manipulate her. It's easy to imagine the hellish torment Jennifer endured. Meanwhile, Stanley recorded the entire process with a camera. Afterward, Jennifer walked despairingly into the depths of the jungle. Just when she thought the nightmare was over, she hadn't gone far when these men appeared again, surrounding her. Jennifer, exhausted, pleaded with them to let her go. But immediately she was pushed into a foul ditch, pressed into the ditch over and over again. Jennifer was instantly tortured to the brink of death, powerless to resist. However, one after another, they proceeded to violate Jennifer. Unable to bear it any longer, Jennifer gradually fell into a state of unconsciousness. In a daze, she looked at this group of monstrous bastards. Jennifer endured the humiliation and silently vowed that the pain and torment she endured would be repaid 100-fold. With that determination, she forced herself to get up, expressionless, and walked forward. Meanwhile, those men followed behind, constantly spewing vulgarities. Just as Storch raised his gun, ready to kill her, Jennifer calmly turned around and opened her arms. The men were in a state of panic, worried that if Jennifer was still alive, their crimes would be exposed. Storch immediately ordered a few people to search downstream. However, no matter how they searched, they couldn't find any trace. Angry, Storch commanded everyone to take turns patrolling the riverbank every day and destroy all evidence of their crimes. Several days passed, but there was still no sign of Jennifer. Just when everyone started to relax their guard, an unexpected incident occurred. Stanley, in a panic, found Johnny and told him that his camera was missing. Inside the camera, there were videos of Jennifer being tortured. Upon hearing this, everyone started to panic. Storch learned that his wife had suddenly received a box of videotapes. When he watched the tapes, he was completely panicked, but fortunately, his wife hadn't seen them yet. Storch quickly explained and rushed out of the house. Strange things happened that night. As soon as Johnny returned home, he heard a strange noise outside the house. He immediately got up to investigate and found a dead sparrow outside. Johnny kicked the sparrow away. Just as he returned inside, another noise came from outside. Feeling scared, Johnny picked up a gun and went out to check again. In his terrified state, he looked down and saw Jennifer's slipper on the ground. But the ordeal was far from over. Their nightmare had just begun. The next day, Storch found Stanley and forced him at gunpoint to swallow the videotape. Meanwhile, Johnny brandished the slipper he found and falsely accused Matthew of playing a stupid prank. Storch orders them to find Matthew and confront him. However, at that moment, Matthew was already experiencing Jennifer's revenge. Stanley stepped into a trap and screamed in agony. His companions heard the sound and rushed out to investigate. Before he could understand the situation, Jennifer knocked him down from behind. When he woke up again, he found himself tied to the bathtub, supported by 2 sticks. He pleaded with Jennifer incessantly, begging her to spare him. But he had forgotten how he treated Jennifer in the first place. Jennifer grabbed his hair and pushed him into the dirty water in the bathtub. She then took out a canister of sulfuric acid powder and poured it into the water. Immediately after, she pulled out a stick from under Johnny. In an instant, his upper body was completely lifted off the ground. Once his strength was exhausted and his head dipped into the water, the consequences were clear. Despite his repeated struggles, he ultimately couldn't survive. It wasn't until his entire head was corroded by the sulfuric acid that Jennifer finally left, feeling at ease. Stanley's hands were bound behind his back to a tree trunk, while Jennifer filmed him with a camera. This was Stanley's favorite way to spend his time. Then she stuffed a dead mouse into Stanley's mouth, causing him to vomit from the disgusting taste. Next, Jennifer hooked Stanley's eyelids with a fish hook. She tied the fishing line to a tree branch, preventing Stanley from closing his eyes. After completing all of this, Jennifer cut open a fish's belly and smeared the guts on Stanley's face. The smell of fish attracted a few crows, who quickly pecked at Stanley's face, leaving it unrecognizable. In the end, Stanley died in agonizing screams. The next target was Johnny. Jennifer lured him out using her back as bait. As Johnny approached, Jennifer swiftly turned around and knocked him unconscious with a stick. When Johnny woke up again, he found his hands and feet bound, suspended from the ceiling. Jennifer used a pair of pliers to pull out Johnny's teeth one by one. The excruciating pain made Johnny let out a heart-wrenching scream, but he continued to curse with a mouth full of obscenities. Jennifer then grabbed a pair of large scissors and cut off his genitals, stuffing them into his mouth. Afterward, Jennifer silently left him there to fend for himself. The next target was Storch. Storch received a phone call from his daughter, who said that her mother had found a beautiful tutor for her. The girl handed the phone to Jennifer, asking her to say hello to her father. But when Storch heard the voice, his expression instantly froze. He immediately rushed home, but his wife said their daughter had gone to the nearby park with her teacher. Upon hearing this, Storch quickly drove to the park. However, after getting out of the car and searching for a while, he couldn't find any trace of his daughter. Just as he was about to return to his car, Jennifer struck him from behind with a stick, knocking him unconscious. When Storch regained consciousness, he found himself tied to a table. A hunting rifle was pointed at his buttocks, held by someone on the floor. He kept pleading for information about his daughter and begged Jennifer to spare her innocent life. But Jennifer, once the most innocent herself, wondered why they didn't show her any mercy back then. With that thought, Jennifer didn't hesitate to thrust the gun barrel into his body, making him experience the feeling of violation. No matter how much Storch begged for mercy, Jennifer remained unmoved. Because when Jennifer begged them for mercy in the past, they never showed an ounce of compassion. This is what they call karma, retribution. Immediately after, Jennifer took out a rope and tied Matthew's hand to it. The other end was connected to the trigger of the hunting rifle, fixed to the door frame. As soon as Matthew woke up, they would both meet their instant demise. After completing all of this, Jennifer calmly walked out of the house, waiting for that moment to arrive. Jennifer finally succeeded in killing these demons and saving more people like herself. However, this painful experience would forever be a shadow she could never escape in her life. Thanks for watching.